Defensibility check on 6077, the Forestmen's River Fortress.
I think this is the first time that we'll see a castle built on a body of water.
I hope it's the last.
Me too. It's not good. Don't do that. Though it is very, very cool. Look at those vines that they can swing from.
The plumes are oh so flamboyant.
Ah, yes. For what is flamboyant, if not pertaining to fire? Often depicted as red. And their plumes are red. So they're flamboyant.
So without further ado,
Let's dive in. Accessibility. There's very little usable interior space, and part of that is the result of the piece used to make those rounded corners and the trees. The inside of those pieces has no studs. It's all essentially tiled.
There's no second floor to this tower. It's tall, it's imposing, but there's just a narrow walkway in the inside, and that's it.
Yeah. And from
like the bridge is probably equal to the usable space of the interior.
And so those arrow loops that you see up top, inaccessible because there is no real internal second level.
Further, the arrow loops on the back, likewise inaccessible. Very sad.
The tower top is inaccessible by either stair or ladder, but I guess if you're a forestman extraordinaire, you could swing on a vine or climb a tree. They're more dexterous in the trees than these brigands and enemy knights. The jail cell in which they hold these brigands and enemy knights is frightfully insecure.
There's no roof.
There is no roof.
Just bars and a puddle.
It's very cruel.
He's just being kept in the water.
He's not going to last long.
Mm-mm.
It's more of a torture room than a jail cell, and that's pretty dark. Come on, Robin! In which the prisoner is a crusader. Although, if we've seen in other media, it's always been the standard that it's the Forestmen against the Falcon Knights. You have to ask.
Particularly the Black Knight. The Black Knight has taken Robin in the commercials.
This is true.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to ask, what's going on? We have an accessible winch at the top of the tower to raise and lower the gate. So that's very good. We have raft for locomotion, so moving about the fortress, perhaps keeping watch. We also have several clips holding weapons, so we'll give a +1 for the addition of an armory.
There are lots of extra weapons around. There's a couple of shields there if they care to take it up. These rascals are armed to the teeth.
Accessibility, -5, +3. Net, -2.
Very sad.
On to defensibility. The crenellation height is very poor. It's but 2 bricks high, and there are massive blind spots.
Oh, all around the thing. The trees get in the way, the foliage gets in the way, and the entire back of it is
It's flat and unmachicolated.
What a tragedy.
And with windows which cannot be defended. Things can be thrown in, but nothing can easily get out.
Unless you're an expert marksman, like all of these men are.
True. This is very true.
So this defensibility check, of course, assumes that these forestmen are buffoons. When in fact,
yes.
They are talented killing machines. You can see by their smiles.
Now, methinks they're not killers.
Oh, say on.
I guess if you look at the picture, the picture one, they're holding up the guy and they have the chest, and the next one, the guy's gone and the chest is open. So you kind of have to ask, where'd that guy go?
They've got, in the prison.
Oh,
too.
right.
So you say they're not killers. No, they're not so much killers. They are definitely torturers. But they do all have weapons, and we did say the rascals were armed to the teeth, so I'll stand by my statement.
Okay. The trees growing into and out of the tower, massive problem.
Not good for the stonework's longevity. Easier to climb, easier to burn.
Much like the 90th anniversary castle, we have an unstable foundation. Partly from just the fact that it's built over water and that there are trees literally growing into and out of the tower.
There are lots of holes down there. It's kind of a little tunnel system that renders your nice gate and confusing drawbridge design
Okay then.
Bad drawbridge design.
useless. Well, you will have to swim or commandeer a raft, but you can climb underneath the tower and get behind the narrow drawbridge there, which isn't really drawn, it's just kind of a bridge, and get into the tower.
We do have camouflage. You mentioned earlier that the trees get in the way, but it is to some advantage.
Indeed.
from a far distance. Perhaps
Especially
you could remain hidden.
since they do just say sometimes a camouflaged outpost. You know the camouflage must work.
This is true. The gate, although it can be circumvented, is a welcome addition.
It's the first time we've seen a gate that closes like this, other than portcullises, so it's kind of cool to see a variation.
This whole fortress is built, essentially, in a moat. So anybody trying to take it is either going to have to cross and hold the bridge or commandeer a raft.
I would like to argue that there are what could be considered murder holes behind those little nubs of crenellations.
I am not convinced.
On the bridge. It's just so open there, and there's crenellations. Why would they put such a cool arch there if it wasn't so that
I think
Robin
it's
on
decorative.
his vine...
Oh, Robin's not in this set.
Neither is his vine, but it could be.
Oh, good point.
Yeah, so Will Scarlet over here could swing on his vine over to there and shoot arrows down on people who are trying to get to the gate. Then, of course, it's also not very high, and it's a very big murder hole, if a murder hole.
And it's a very unstable footing.
Unless you are so nimble.
Oh, as
Will
Scarlet. Right. Now, I'm thinking Will Scarlet. He's the raft man.
Really?
Yeah, look, he's got the red sleeves. He's got the red feather.
Oh, the red feather does do it. I was thinking that guy up there in the trees. But Will
He
Scarlet
could be Little
was
John.
the best swordsman. So the guy on the raft has his sword there.
Defensibility, -4. +3. Net, -1. We are not doing so hot. On to offensibility. There are no machicolations on the back of this fortress.
None whatsoever to be had.
So the entire back of the fortress is essentially indefensible. -1.
If somebody is attacking this fortress, they're going to want to have boats. And if they have boats, they can get to the back just as easily as the front. Especially since this is a river fortress. If they had to worry about things like tides and oceanic storms, perhaps they would want to approach from the front. But it's so small, and it's on a river.
On a positive note, we do have working machicolations on the front.
That is
There's
pretty cool.
Room aplenty to throw even small 1x1 cylinders through. Wow. Offensibility. -1, +1. Net 0.
Now, how about our auxiliary graces?
They do not aid enough.
I see.
We have a garrison of 5 Forestmen, enough to hold this tower.
As unholdable as the tower is, you probably couldn't fit more persons in it comfortably.
So that is an additional 1 point for auxiliary graces, leaving us with a net -2, score 0.
It fails spectacularly as a fortress.
But as a play set,
Oh, it's so cool. Let's hope nobody finds it. It just stays.
Unless it's at a garage sale.
Stays camouflaged. I'm glad we finally did a Forestman set. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Anybody who owned this set can hardly disagree with us. Having seen it, it's very useful to the imagination.
Very.
To say the least.